is a 115 volt coil, but I got to put 2 rescue motors in it for 208 because there was no 208 volt coil in stock, and the lead time on it was ridiculous. I'm going to do the job this weekend. I think today is Tuesday. So we're going to change the motors out. We're going to build the coil up, H.V.A.C, solenoid valve, and the thermostat on there. And let's go ahead and show you guys how to wire this up for you new guys. It'll make a lot of sense. And for you super techs out there, just enjoy the show. All the packing out. I won't pull the coil yet because there's that piece of cardboard on the bottom where I had a video of my easy layout for an evaporator coil. And I'll go ahead and mark it in case I need to use that when I line up my new coil. When I change the old one out, I'm taking out an old coil and it is beat to hell. Wait till you see it. I had to redo that one. Guys, all your products will come with literature. If you have time on the job, read it. If not, when you get home at night, take it home. Read this stuff. This will make you a better mechanic. Read everything in here. How to set your coils up. About the airflow, everything. How to set your evaporator in the box. Your drain line. 1/4 inch per foot fall. P-trap on the outside of the box. See? H.V.A.C bulb placement. You don't want it at 12, you don't want it at 6. You don't want it on a coupling like that. It won't sense right. Just things like that. Multiple evaporator placements. Read all this stuff. Then back here it's going to tell you which expansion valve for your coil. It's great information. Read the books, throw one on your truck, keep it on your truck. 5/16 nut driver. Take our panel off. I got the coil upside down right now. There's some intel in here about your nozzle. Maybe they even got the nozzle sizes now for the refrigerants. .404A is an L/2, which is what I'm going to be using. If I was using 407, it's the same. If I was going to be using 448 or 449, it would have been an L34. And for R22, it would have been an L1-3. So they're doing that now. That's kind of nice. And I should have a sack of nozzles right here. There they are. Ooh, that looks like it's got a hand. 7,000 BTU coil is real common in my area for a small walk-in box. Next thing I want to check is to make sure there's some nitrogen in this coil from the factory. So it's nitrogenized. That beautiful braze job. Way to go, guys. Way to get her nice and hot. In the bag like that. And I'm going to throw it on the truck if I need it later. Cut all the stubs off there, and on there, and over here, so we can get prepped and ready for our H.V.A.C and our solenoid valve installation. They bring you the wire over here for your solenoid coil through the evap coil, and when we get to the wiring part, we'll show you all that. For the reamer, I'll get the pipe aiming down, so any debris that's in there is going to come out towards us. I got to get 2 hands on this, so hang in there. And that's what it looks like when it's reamed out. It looks a lot different. Now I got the distributor cut open and reamed out. A lot of you has asked me, how do you put the nozzle in there? You've also asked me, is the nozzle a metering device? This is not a metering device. This is a nozzle. The H.V.A.C goes before the nozzle and the TXV is your metering device. This nozzle is simply in there. The best blue collar way I could describe it is to make the refrigerant go evenly into your distributors. Now we only have 2 distributors on here. See the 2 holes in there? And then this is how I put them in. You want the numbers facing out, and sometimes I'll have to get my screwdriver in there and round it out a little bit. We're going to have to on this one, so that the flow goes into this nozzle and evenly distributes to those distributor tubes, which is going to be these 2 right here. And that's the whole purpose of that nozzle. It's a term they call slip, and it's to control the slip. So one distributor is not getting more refrigerant than the other. Will it work without the nozzle in there? Absolutely it will. This is what the manufacturer has designed and they want in there, so I put it in there. You guys can do whatever you like to do. Facing out. We'll get them in there. I'll get it started like that. And I'll get it seated in with my screwdriver. You don't have to push hard. Then I'll get the clip. I'll put the clip in. I'm gonna get a smaller screwdriver to line that up. So I just kind of get it started like that. And then I like to use this long, skinny screwdriver. I already got it in. It took me 2 hands, but I'll get it like top and bottom with the edge of the screwdriver till it snaps in. We fit it in with the equalizer tube. I got my solenoid going. Now the solenoid, you got to make sure you get your inlet on your in and your outlet to the TXV. Don't put it in backwards. It's no fun to have to do it later. Switch it around. Don't ask me how I know that. All right, I've done it before. It's going to sit like this because I have the coil sitting in here upside down for my makeup. And I'm going to sit it like the TXV you could wrap in a wet rag or put the cooling paste or the wet rag goo stuff on there. You could do that same on the solenoid valve, or you could take your solenoid valve. You can take this apart and take the guts out for brazing it up so nothing heats up in there also, which is what I'm thinking about doing. I might put my magnet on there and just purge it. All right, this is a Sporlan service magnet. If you don't have one, get one. If you have a coil that dies in the middle of the night, you can put that on your solenoid and get your unit running until you can get out in the morning. It's great for testing. It's great for purging. Listen. Boom, solenoid's energized. I got my plug with my nitrogen. It's going to come in. I got my wet rags on my TXV and my solenoid valve. I got my coil on my solenoid valve so it'll flow. Refrigeration side, we got our solenoid valve in, we got our TXV in. Now we'll get into the wiring. So all the thermostat does is control this solenoid coil. We're going to be 208 today because that's the application I got. And all that thermostat does is send a signal to this or not. So whether it was a 115 or a 208, we're going to fire off this coil or we're not going to fire off this coil. And that's all the thermostat does. Coil, and I'll use a regular old standard pop-in bushing, 1/2 inch. I'll just put that in there like this. Get it flush mounted. The wire that comes across on this side is your solenoid coil wire. And the coil manufacturer puts that in there. So let me get that stripped out, and then we'll get the wire nuts on. Just one to one half, one to the other half, whether it's 208 or 115, whatever your situation is. And I really like them. You can get the wire seated all the way in there, and then it locks down, and then I'll tape them up. I'll get them taped up, and then we'll get the cover on here, and we'll mount this coil. Then we'll get into mounting the thermostat and some wiring. That side of the coil is done, so I put the cover back on and I sealed up my lines. Now we can flip the coil right side over. We'll work on the thermostat and the rest of the wiring, and I'll show you how that works. On this end, you get two sets of wires. One is your solenoid wire that goes through. It has no connectors on it. That's how you tell them apart. And then your fan motors will have the connectors on it. Doesn't mean we're going to use them, but that's just how they ship it. And you can tell the difference in the wires. It'll also say solenoid harness on the wire for you. So those two are there. You need a 1/2 inch step bit. You're going to want to drill a 1/2 inch KO on that front plate. So that's where we're going to mount our thermostat. Let me go ahead and I got another pop-in bushing I'll put in there. A421 ABD02 built-in defrost. I'm going to get my Phillips bit here, and we're going to crack this open. And then I'm going to show you how I mount it onto the faceplate. Okay, there's a Phillips screw right there and these two tabs. I'll take that Phillips screw out, and then I can take this whole card out of the base plate. Okay, then the base plate's like that. I'm going to see if I can hold this here like this. I'll set the base plate on here like this and get a pen from the back side to mark it, and then that's where I'm going to drill out this case. So let me get that drilled out and I'll show you. Put it on there like that. I get a pin from the back side and mark it. There it is, drilled out. I'll put the card back in now. We'll take a look and we'll get it all back together. Pop in bushing from the back in. So it looks like this. It goes right in through there. And then I use the flat metal screws like the electricians use on the metal studs. Just the little shorties. And then that'll secure the base plate onto the front there. That's how that's going to ride, just like that. So that's how I do that. And the wires are going to be all external. We'll put a blank off in here. Here we go. So we got our 240 volts coming in, red and black. It's going to be our line coming in. So say on the old coil there was two wires coming in, 208 volts, right? I got those two going in to power off the stat, and then I have a dry set of contacts here. So I got half of the 208 coming in here. When the thermostat makes, goes down to half of my solenoid coil. When it's satisfied, it opens half of my solenoid coil on the red side. Half of the 208 volts. That's how that looks. What's cool with this style of wire nuts is I'll take everything that's on my red line for my 208 to one wire nut, and then everything that's on the other half to this one. So I got my fans right here. Half of my fans to red, half the fans to black. Half of my solenoid valve goes through the switch leg on red, the other half goes right up here to the black. And that's pretty much it. Now I got to get my blank off for the thermostat right there, and we'll get this all back together. Then when I put it together, the lines come in, and we are on our way. So now I'm changing out my fan motors. These were 115 motors. And I'm putting in these dual voltage motors for wiring them for 208. I already got one done. I don't know what the holdup is, but RSD didn't have any 208 coils, and they're saying it's crazy lead time to get coils out of their factory or whatever. So for a 208, it's kind of an oddball for an evaporator fan motor for medium temp. So I got the 115 one. We swapped the motors out. We make it happen. But I thought I'd show you guys that, and that's how it's done. So like, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.